Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we are continuing with our weekly shir on the Zohar Kadosh, where we connect the light of Moshe Rabbeinu with the light of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And as we discussed last week in Parsha Shlach, really this attempt to connect Moshe Rabbeinu and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, which is the secret of the Zohar Kadosh, which is a commentary on the depth of Torah's Moshe, that which is hidden within Torah's Moshe, which is why Moshe Rabbeinu had to go up to retrieve the neshama of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, is because Moshe Rabbeinu represents the Raya Mehemna, which represents Chochma, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai represents the Butzina Kadisha, which represents fire. Now, and Binah, rather. So Moshe Rabbeinu represents Chochma and Mayim, Min Hamayim Mishisihu, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai represents Binah, and he represents fire, which is the secret of the Meduros of Rabbi Shimon. And generally speaking, the Iker machlokas in reality, the Iker separation of things in reality is the separation or the apparent separation between these two stages, Chachma and Bina. Chachma and Bina are, externally speaking, polar opposites of one another. Chachma represents expansive consciousness where everything is seen in one fell swoop in the holistic wholeness of it all. Chochma is the bittul b'metzias. Chochma is nothingness. It's ayin. Chochma is the world of olam ha'atzilus. Kulam b'chachma is bariru. It's a place where it's fundamentally clear that all separation is in truth just an expression of unity, to the degree that we don't even pay attention, we don't even acknowledge the reality of the separation. Chochma is vision. Chochma is seeing everything in a clarified way. It's the bittul of ayin. It's absolute nothingness. Bina, on the other hand, is the polar opposite. Bina is yesh. Bina is somethingness. Bina is separation. Bina is the audio logic that breaks apart an original visual whole in order to understand the particularities that make up the whole. It's the descent down into concealment, constriction. It's the descent down into the worlds of apparent separation, Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya. It's the left aspect of the mind. It's the severity of the mind which breaks things apart from their original wholeness. It's the emergence of dinim. It's the reality of ani. There's a sense of an ego there. There's somebody who has to be mevata themselves, as opposed to the bittul b'metzias and chachma, where I'm completely nullified, and the expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's or in sof, the yichud and the bittul of bina is going to be mitzad hakelim. It's going to be mitzad that yesh misha ohev. There is somebody who loves HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There is somebody who is afraid of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's still a somebody. There's still an ego. There's still an element of an ani, but it is mevatel itself, unlike chachma, which is just an ayin, which is nothingness. And generally speaking, these two expressions are the baseline split that it operates at the core of all of existence. Chachma represents the yamin. Chachma represents the right side of things. The kav hayamin, which represents chachma, chesed, and netzach, the right side of the spheros, which represents expressivity, openness, clarity, connectivity, all of the synonyms that we associate with goodness, which is what happens when a person enters into that place of ayin, into that recognition of the absolute nothingness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Versus Bina, so to speak, which is the left side of things, which is the seros of Bina, Gvura, and Hod. Chachein is the right side, and Baga is the left side. And these are the seros of constriction, of tzimtzum, of vessels, of containment, of minimization and particularization and concealment and processing, etc., etc. And the battle that operates between the right and the left side, between the tzad of Chachma, which is the right side in its source, and the Bina, which is the left side in its source, is the baseline split that operates at the heart of all things, from Kayin and Hevel, from Adam and Chava, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kavyachal and Adam, from Adam and Chava, Klapi the Nachash, from Kayin and Hevel, Noach and the rest of the generation, Avram and the rest of the world, Yitzchak and Yishmael, Yaakov and Esav, the Shvatim and Yosef, Yehuda and Yosef, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben Yosef, Moshe and Aaron, Mitzvahs Aseh, Mitzvahs Los Aseh, Shamor, Zohar, Torah, Tefillah, Rabbi Nachman, Shpaler Zayda. All of these different expressions of the splitness, Torah Sheba'al Peh, Torah Shebechsav, Yom, Laila, Zohar, Nekeva, all of these things can be, Emunah and Bitachon, all of them can be explained in accordance with the baseline split between Chachma and Bina, between the Yamin and the Small. And obviously, what Pnimius HaTorah is going to fundamentally reveal is the unity between Moshe and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the unity between the water and the fire, between the Torah HaKadosh and the Zohar HaKadosh, between Chitzonius and Pnimius. Because in truth, it's not only the ayin of Chachma that we need, it's not the nothingness or the bittul of Chachma that we need alone, and it's not the somethingness or the yeshus kavyachol of Bina that we need alone. It's not just the ani. but rather we need ani v'ayin b'vasachas, we need the higher light that ascends above both of them, which reveals their inherent unity, which is the light of Keser. So the machlokas between Chochma and Binah, between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, between Chesed and Gevura, between night and day, and all of these distinctions that we just spoke about, is all there to reveal that there's something that actually exists interior to them and above them and around them that reveals that somehow, some way, these two oppositional elements that are in seemingly such contrasted distinctions one another, nevertheless reveal a unity that is greater than anything that could have been revealed had it not come about by way of this impossible paradox. The secret of Shnaim Shu Echad, the secret that the light of Keser is the containment of Ani and Ayin Bevasachas, and the secret of Reish Delos Yada, because we don't know how and we don't know when and we don't know what and we don't know where, but we know that we have belief in the fact that the Chochma and the Binah, the Abba and the Ima, are unified in their source. The right and the left, Yamin Usmol Tifroitzi V'Yas Hashem Taritzi, that throughout the week we look at Yamin and Smol. Yamin is the Chochma and Smol is the Binah, but come Shabbos we come to realize that Yaminu Smol Tifroitzi V'Yas Hashem Taritzi, that I break on through to the other side to reveal that everything is revelatory of the unity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so the purpose of existence is for us to recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu's infinitude, the Chachma, the Ayin, the Bittul, and then to descend down into the world of separation, into the world of Bina, into the world of the Ani, in order to refine that process so that we can then come back to Chachma with more intensity. In spite of the fact that both Chochma and Bina are fundamentally important, and that when one comes to the core of things, they understand that in truth, the Yamin and the Small are fundamentally unified, and that the Chasadim and the Gevuros and the Or Ein Sof and the Tzimtzum and the Or and the Kalim and all of these distinctions that we've looked at, when we come to realize that Bina is equally unified as Chachma is, and the Ani and Ayin are both fundamentally working together, when we take all of separation of Bina and the Small and we bring it into Chachma and the unity of the right, so then we might come to assume that ultimately the right side and the left side are of equal footing, that are both a representative fundamentally of the Iker Tachlis of creation. Because when a person looks at Panemius, they come to realize that, oh my goodness, all of the concealment of the left side, all of the concealment of Bina, all of the concealment of the Small, and all of those things which are synonymous with constriction, when I come to realize that it's in unity with Chachma, so then suddenly a person begins to see the transformation of the order, the Venahapachu, the light of Purim, where everything that appears to have been concealment and difficult and dark, and all of the oppositional traits to the Chachma, now they are illuminated with a shine that a person comes to realize that, oh my God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you reveal yourself as fundamentally in the constriction of the left side as you do on the right side. Bina is as important, Kaviyachal, as Chachma. And while it's fundamentally true that both are fundamentally unified, and that the light and the darkness both bespeak HaKadosh Baruch Hu's glory, and the ease and the severity are both expressive of the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that Chachma and Bina and all of the various synonyms, Ad Bali Dai, can be seen as equal, nevertheless, the biggest secret of existence is that in spite of their being equal, Chochma and the right side is still ultimately the tachlis of the entirety of creation, because Choy Katoiv Lahetiv, and Hashem wants to do good. Hashem wants to reveal goodness in a toiv hanira v'hanigla, in a way that we can actually experience. And in order for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to perpetually reveal the ikar nekudas pnimius haratzon of his desire kaviyachol, which is to be meitiv to Klal Yisrael, which is to be meitiv and baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam, and the toiv hanira v'hanigla. So we have to perpetually remember that in spite of the equal footing between light and darkness, nevertheless, the only purpose of the inclusion of darkness into the circle of unity is so that the light of unity can be expressed to even be more ferocious than it was originally, because now it ascends even higher than it was prior to the inclusion of difficulty. The inclusion of concealment, the utilization of Bina in the unification with Chachma, the revelation that all that appears to be the hither side of functioning is on par with functioning itself, is only there to illuminate functionality and Chochma with more intensity and more ferocity. Because no matter how significant Tzimtzum and Bina is, and no matter how significant the Smol is, and no matter how significant the awareness of the power of constriction is, nevertheless, it's only there to reveal the unlimited power of light and expression to the degree that we have no understanding whatsoever of the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That the tachlis of the utilization of Klal Yisrael using their own ego, their own yesh, to be nichlal within the ayin, to reveal the secret of aniva ayin bevasachas, is only to perpetually reveal an ayin nothingness and an element of chachma that is higher than what we previously imagined, to reveal that it's always higher than the ani of bina. We include the concealment only so to infuse revelation with more of a power. which is the secret that no matter how balanced the right and the left are going to be, and the chasadim and the gvuras are going to be, Hashem will always win out at the end of the day. Because in the end of the day, the ikar tachlis of all tachlisim is the hiskalus of or ein sof mamish, which is the secret of choy katoiv lahetiv, which is the secret of toiv hanira v'hanigla, and the secret of ki chafetz chesedhu. That in accordance with HaKadosh, if we were to feel that everything is of equal footing, and we were to live in accordance with that secret that Ani and Binah is on equal footing to the Ayin and the Bittul of Chochma, then God forbid we become to celebrate the dark as we celebrate the light. And yes, Avada, the dark is as expressive as the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as the light is, but nevertheless, what we want is Toiv Hanira V'Hanigla. Not just Chayka Toiv Lahetiv that can be revealed in a difficult way as well, but rather Toiv Hanira V'Hanigla, which only comes about when we realize that it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Ratzon that always wins out, and the Or will always exceed the Kli. We're meant to bring all of limitation and Bina and the small back up into the bittul of Chachma, back up into that place of nothingness to reveal Ani v'ayin b'vasachas. But that's never because Ani is of equal footing with Ayin. We know that we can be Kadosh like Hashem, but at the very same point, we come to realize that Kedushasi l'mala mikdushosechem, that the moment that the Ani, that the small, that Bina is included within the Ayin and the nothingness and the Chachma and the Yamin, suddenly we come to reveal that the Chachma, the Yamin, the right side, the Ani of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is the Ayin, Ha'amiti, which is the perpetual revelation that we have no grasp whatsoever of anything at all, and that Hashem's holiness and infinitude is always ascendant from our grasp, and everything is a chesed chinam, and everything has to become a toiv hanira v'hanigla. Only then are we perpetually pushing the engine of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's revelation. God forbid if a person looks at the process of refinement of Ani, of Bina, of the small, of all of those negative elements where we come to find the intensity and the movement and the gevura and the sweetness and the power and the pungency of that form of experience of Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Olam Va'ed, of finding Hashem in the concealment. But that's only to include Baruch Shem within Shema Yisrael, to reveal that Shema Yisrael is always higher than Baruch Shem, that you can be holy. The Ani is niklal into the Ayin, but it's always Kedushasi l'malam Kedushasechem, and it always brings back to another stage of Bittul, and another stage of Bittul, which is the secret of the Hamshach of the Orient Sof into the Kalim of Chochma, specifically in the world of Atzilus, where the Kalim can hold somehow the light of infinitude only because there's Bittul there. Only in the secret of Bittul, as the Baal Tanya says in the name of the Rambam, that it's only through the secret of Bittul that we can draw down the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And God forbid if we identify too much with the Ani, with the left, with the Bina, with all of that severity, and think that, oh, it's the most important thing in the world, so then we're perpetually getting stuck in the Ani, and we're celebrating the Morah, and we're forgetting that the job of the small is to be Nichlal within the Yamin in order to push the Yamin even higher. But it's not an equal footing where the Yamin and the small are revealed to be fundamentally of the same value. Yes, they're both made up of the same stuff in the sense that Or Ein Sof is Niskala everywhere. But nevertheless, the ikr tachlis of all things is the yamin, is the chachma, is the bittul that comes about after the inclusion of the self and the ani. And this is what's happening in Parshas Korach, that Kohanim and Leviim represent these two valence points. The Kohen is Chochma, the Kohen is Chesed. The Kohen is just the desire to do good and to bestow ultimate goodness for Klal Yisrael. That was the light of Aaron HaKohen. That was selflessness. There was absolute and utter bittul in that place. The light of Aaron is the light of bittul, Vayidom Aaron, where Chochma can be Megala itself in the lowest imaginable place, which is the Doimim, which is Malchus, because in truth, the Shorish of Chochma and the Shorish of Malchus are shared. Abi Yisad Bratan. The Tachlis is through the bittul of Chochma, which is Aaron HaKohen, to be able to illuminate even the malchus of this world, which appears to be so ego-driven, because through the light of the bittul b'metzias, so we can be mayor in that place. The Levi is din, the Levi is constriction, the Levi is the setting of the mishmar for the avodah of the Kohanim. The Levi is the light of Leviah. It's the containment that creates the sounds of music. It's only through restriction and the balance of consonant and dissonant chords that the Galei Hayam, the waves of the sea, which are the waves of sound, ascend from below to above, which is why Shira is always an act associated with Gevura. It's a Zmira, it's a breaking through to the other side, moving from concealment towards revelation. And so the Leviim are meant to always work at the service of the Kohanim. The small is always meant to work at the service of the Yamin, because it understands its functional role, it understands its purpose, it understands that it is who is infused with the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But in that light, it connects itself to the light of Chochma, which is the bittul, to agree upon what its job is, to simply be in that place where it serves as the constriction to the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to reveal the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu more. But the moment that the Ani and Bina and the ego-driven element of that side of existence wants to ascend upwards, and it wants to take and own the role that Chochma has because it sees, Chochma has a more important role than me. I want the most important role, which is the perpetual ego-driven sense of self that is experienced when a person only centers on what their avodah is or how they feel about their avodah. And thinking that it can overcome Chochma, Korach, the Levi, decides to say, no, the kahuna should be ours. Because he identifies with the value of elevating that which appears to be concealed. And as the Arizal points out, Korach wasn't wrong. Korach wasn't wrong in the sense that the Kohen and the Levi, the Chochma and the Binah, the Yamin and the Small, the day and the night are equal in the expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light. But Korach was wrong in terms of what his shlichus was. He wasn't mevutal to Moshe Rabbeinu. He wasn't mevatel himself to the Chochma, to the Or Ein Sof that's mislabish in the Kalim of Chochma. That the Or Ein Sof that's mislabish in the Koyach Ma, in the secret of the tzaddikim who mevatel themselves betachlis habitul. And so, because Korach was still ego-driven by that motivational space of Bina alone, thinking that because it's equal to the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that's revealed through Chachma, it is more important than Chachma, and that it has a role other than just perpetually driving Chachma to reveal itself more and more. So Korach took a machlokas. Korach said that I want this Bina now to be the crowning jewel. And Korach was right in the sense that he identified that in the future it's going to be revealed that all that appears constricted is going to be revealed to be more potentially motivating towards the revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's unity than that which appears to be revealed. That the small, the koach of the motivational gvuros are what drives the expression of ayin ha'amiti more and more. Without the motivational space of the gvuros and bina, we wouldn't have any revelation. Without simsum, there is no hiskalos of Or Ein Sof. And so mitzad that, Korach was right, that there was a light that was going to emerge, but mitzad the fact that Korach was not trying to own his role of serving to reveal more of the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, Korach wanted to take the place of Moshe Rabbeinu. Korach wanted to be at the head. Korach didn't care about the gilui of Or Ein Sof that was going to be Naskala. Korach cared more about how he felt in his role as to how the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu was going to be Naskala. And that's the chait of Korach, the Idaso. That's the machlokas, that it was a misunderstanding of the role of Bina and Small and all of the elements of the Ani, which are fundamentally important, but they must always, always, always be at the service of revealing a higher level of Ayin. That Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus L'Amvoed is always there to reveal more of a Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Every ounce of experience and concealment is only there to reveal the ease and the calmness with which we can live when we experience the Menuchas Emes She'atarot Seba. Life is difficult in order for us to come to a place of understanding that the Tachlis is to find the Toiv HaNira VaHanigla. Without the difficulty, we wouldn't be able to go through that. That's the entire light of Rabbeinu HaRamchal, that there's a Yichud B'Shlita, that there's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's governance over the world in this limited place, in this concealment, in this hiddenness, in this tzimtzum. But it's ultimately for the purpose of revealing the yichud b'metzias, which is the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a toiv hanira v'hanigla. And so because Korach was right on a certain level, Arizal says that Korach is sofei tevos tzaddik katamar yifrach, that the tzaddik will eventually rise above through the way of a tamar, which is the secret of moving from concealment into sweetness. But that's only in the future when Korach is fundamentally included within the bittul of Chochma, and he realizes that the role of Bina and the small and the Yerida from Chochma into the worlds of separation is only so that we can return back to the Olam HaAtzilus with more strength and more intensity. The tachlis of all things is Olam HaAtzilus. The Eitzah HaYeutza to all things, as the Rashash says, is Olam HaAtzilus, is to connect ourselves to Chochma, is to shift the way we look at the world, to find more menucha, more simcha, more emunah. But the only way we can get there is through Bina, through the small. But if we forget the role of it all, then we could get stuck in the small. And that's the chait of Korach. And that's what the Zohar HaKadosh is going to be revealing to us in a few of the places that we're going to be looking. And one can say that Parshas Korach, like we're saying, Parshas Korach is the light of the machlokas and the unity between Chochma and Bina, between Moshe and Korach, between the Kohen and the Levi, between Moshe Rabbeinu and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, in accordance with the erech and the relative alignment of these machloksim. And so we're saying Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is the light of Bina, which is the light of the Levi, which is the light of Gvura, which is the Bechina of Korach, and Moshe Rabbeinu is the light of Chochma. Moshe Rabbeinu is going to be the light of illumination. Moshe Rabbeinu is going to be the place of Chochma. So in Torah Shebechsav, Parshas Korach is a long parsha, but in the Zohar HaKadosh, Korach is a much shorter place than what we're typically used to with long parshios. And it could be because the Sefer Zohar represents Bina, and it represents that place that Korach wanted to bring back and reveal why the lower side should be revealed to be in truth higher. And even though he had a point, nevertheless, the purpose of the highness of the low space is only to reveal the lowness within the high space, to show that the high space is always perpetually higher than the low space. So the Zohar Kadosh is mitzamsim himself, and it doesn't have as much as of a voice in this week's Parsha, because the Iker is to recognize the ascendancy of Moshe Rabbeinu over Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and that it's only through Moshe Rabbeinu that Rabbi Akiva, the Rebbe of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, has an achiz on all of the pratim, because the koach of Binah, the koach of the small, is always at the service of the koach of the Chochma and the koach of the Yamin. So Vayikach Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kahas ben Levi, and as the Sfarim HaKadoshim point out, that the origination of Korach's decision and all of this process came from the fact that he was a Levi, came from the fact that he understood the secret of the Levium, he just didn't understand the secret of the Bittul. And so the Zohar HaKadosh says as follows: Tachazi, come and see. Kol man de ishtadol araisa. Every person who spends their time expressing their strength and their full experience within the Torah itself, achid be'ilan edachaya, is connected, is unified with the tree of life. Kivin the achid bei, bekule achid. And because a person is connected to the tree of life in one way, it's as if they're completely davak to the tree of life. As the pasuk says, Eitz chayim hi lemachazikim ba. It's a tree of life for those who grab hold of it. So the Zohar Kadosh is equating the Torah or Raisa, which is the secret of Chochma, that it's connected to the Eitz HaChaim, to the Eitz HaChaim, to the light of Chochma. The Eitz HaDas Torah is partaking of Binah without Chochma. It's partaking too much in the experience of self in Avodas Hashem, rather than the purpose of the experience of self, which is drawing down more of the bittul of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why the Zohar HaKadosh in Parshas Korach is telling us to connect to Chochma, connect to the Torah, because when a person connects to the Torah, they're connected to the tree of life, which is the tikkun to the Eitz HaDas. And once we encounter the Eitz HaChaim, then we can go back and properly understand the Eitz HaDas, the shorish of the Eitz HaDas, as the Rebbe described 2 weeks ago in the name of Rav Aaron Halevi. Kivin the achad be'bekula achad. Once a person is even slightly connected to the tree of life, it's as if they're completely connected to the tree of life. And this is a klal that we're used to. This is a klal that we've seen from the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh in the name of the Rambam. The Iker Zach of Chochma is that HaToifes Chelek Min HaEtzem Toifes Etz HaEtzem Kulo, because Chochma, Bittul, is indivisible. And yes, there's a space within it. There's places, there's Proteus, there's Binah, that's Muvuta within Chochma that appears to be divisible to the degree that the whole can break down into parts. But one must always perpetually remember that the parts, the Binah, is always continuously connected to the whole, which is the expression and the furthering of the light of the klal kulo, which is chachma. So if a person touches the Eitz HaChaim, even if you're only touching one part of the Eitz HaChaim, it's as if you're achuz on the entirety of the Eitz HaChaim, which is why you see in the Torah HaKadosha that there's a klal that kol HaTorah kulahu inyan achad, and it's ani b'makom echad and ashir b'makom acher, because the entire Torah is really one thing. It's me'uchad in the light of chachma. Then there's the lamdis. Then you descend down into the particularization and the categorizations and the severity and the tzvei dinim and the abstraction ad infinitum. But that's only after a person recognizes before and after that the Torah is achas and that the Eitz Chaim is achas. So I can touch one part of the Eitz Chaim with the fundamental realization that I'm always touching the entirety of the Eitz Chaim, which is Eitz Chaim hilam achas ikimba. Rabbi Yitzchak Amar, Rabbi Yitzchak, the light of Binah, the light of Gevura, the tikkun to Korach. Because what Korach was an expression of Levi, was an expression of Tzimtzum, which is a shorish of Yitzchak. But the mistake was what? The mistake was that Korach was ispalik. He separated himself because he saw Binah without the bittul to Chochma. He saw the small without the bittul to the Yamin. Rav Yitzchak, which is a shorish of the small, which is the Binah Gvura Hoid, that's going to be the tikkun where the Binah represents the understanding of its tachlis to bimakusher achar kach to Avram to the Chochma. Amar Rav Yitzchak, Amar kol man diyashtadel ba'araisa. Anybody who spends time expressing all of their strength within the Torah, cheru isme. A person is going to find freedom. A person is going to find Binah. Binah is Amad Chiru. Binah is Yovel. Binah is the place where all of the particularities and the separation and the Avdus is going to be revealed to have been a place of Cherus. And so Rav Yitzchak, who is the Tikkun to Korach, who is the recognition of the real role of Binah, which is Bittul to Chachma, and never thinking that the role is for Binah to take the place of Chachma, or for the Levi to take the place of the Kohen, or for Korach to take the place of Moshe, but rather for them to be at the service of Moshe. So it's Rabbi Yitzchak who says that anybody who spends time learning the Torah, in truth, the particularities there are expressive of the unity and the freedom of Chachma. Islay Mekula. A person is freed from everything. Cheru Mimisa, they're freed from death, because Binah without Chachma is death. Yamosu v'loy b'chachma. Death emerges. The shvira, the entire shvira sakelim, is the descent from Chachma into Binah. the Malchin de Misu, the Eretz Edom, as the Arizal says, the entirety of the Zayin Malchin de Misu is Binah itself. And so anybody who's connected to the light of the Torah, which is the light of Chochma, says Rabbi Yitzchak, so it's as if they're freed from the Malach HaMavos, and you can engage in all of the particularities of Bina and Smol, which are considered as death in relative position to the right side of things, which is life, because Chochma Tichya es Ba'ala, because the light of life comes from Chochma. So when you're connected to Bina properly and you realize it's at the service of Chochma, and this is the Manda Amr of Rav Yitzchak, who's the Tikkun to Korach, so then you're freed from the Malach HaMavos, Kamad Amrin, as Chazal said, begin the Chiru Iloa Sharya V'ichadbei. Why? Because the ascendant point of freedom rests upon that person and it reveals the unification. Because at the ascendant point of Bina, at the Shar HaNun, at the Nesiv Lo Yada Ayit, what happens is that Bina reveals that inherent within Bina itself is the hidden unity of Chachma. And in that place, we enable the role of Bina, which is the perpetual movement and the motivational space of concealment, to drive a furthering of the expression of unity, but never thinking that the concealment itself is the purpose. Ilu Yisrael mitatrin ba'araisa yishtazvu mikula. If Klal Yisrael were to attach themselves and to crown themselves with the Torah, to connect themselves to Chochma, to be fully aware of the fact that the Kav Yamin b'Sharasho is always perpetually ascendant from the Kav HaSmol, and that Kedushasi l'mala mikdushaseichem, no matter how lofty I can come, and that in spite of the fact that ein doime lecha, and in spite of the fact that ultimately I can be medama myself to you, I'm always going to perpetually come back to the awareness of ein aruch lecha Hashem Elokeinu, and specifically going to be by way of concealment. V'lo yishtachlu begalusa, and we're not going to forget ourselves in exile. Again, exile in correspondence to Geula is Bina in correspondence to Chochma. And exile is a fundamental principle in revealing the light of Geula, as the Maharal describes in Netzach Yisrael. But the Iker is not to forget when a person is in exile that the entire purpose of exile is to bring us to Geula. Chas v'shalom, a person can come to celebrate and decide that Ahavti as Adoni, and they can want to live in Galusa their whole life, as we know throughout the history of the Jewish people. But and this is what it says when the pasuk says Charus ala luchos, that it was engraved upon the luchos. Charus Chakika is Gevura, Chakika is motivational engraving, Chakika is the act of cutting away. It's the Charus, it's an engraving, it's Bina. But by connecting ourselves to the light of Chochma, what do we come to realize? Charus ala luchos, don't read that it's engraved, which is the light of Bina. Atikri charus ela cherus, but rather read it as freedom, which is the secret of Chochma. Because when you properly understand the purpose of smol and Bina and Gvura and severity, and it's that it's always at the service of the bittul of Chochma and the hisgalus of the ayin ha'amiti, so then you understand how within the engraving oneself will come to find the cherus. Do ukma ba'iraisa ishtachich. Person will come to find it in the Torah. The Torah is the strength of the right side of Chochma. The Torah b'sharasho, the das of Moshe Rabbeinu, is the yamino eish das lamo. There's an eish there. Eish is bina. It's the shirish of bina within Chochma that is going to emerge into the side of smol, but not because it's separate from yamin, but only to illuminate the koyach of eish within the yamin already. Usmoila is kalul biyamina. And the right side, the left side has to be included within the right side. Bina has to be at the service of Chochma. In the secret of the Reisha de Loasiada, where it's Kedushasi Lamala Mikdushaseichem, and the tachlis of every Giloy of Ani is to be Ma'ir to the Ayin Ha'amiti, which is the Ani Hashem Lekechem. Man da Ovid Yamina Smola. But somebody, instead of including the left within the right, comes to shift the right to the left and make the left the right, the Ovid Yamina Smola, to take the left side of Bina and place it in the place of Chochma, God forbid, where all of the severity is now seen to be on equal footing, and it's forgotten that it only works at the service of Bittul because Kedushas L'Malam Mikdushaseichem. Ha'ihu ki'ilu chariv alma. This person has now destroyed the world. This is what Korach did. To look at Bina and the Yesh and the Eitz HaDas without the Eitz HaChaim Chas v'Shalom is to fall back into what? Into the Alma D'Charivu, into the Shira Sakelim again, into the Malchin Kadmin Demisu. Tachazi, come and see again. Tachazi, the light of the Zohar Kadosh, has Rabbi Shimon understood the secret of Bina being at the service of the Chachma, because he utilizes in the Zohar Kadosh Tachazi. Re'iyah is Chachma, the Zohar is Bina, but hidden within the Zohar Kadosh is the recognition that the Iker Tachlis is Chachma. Tachazi, come and see Aharon Yamina. The Kohanim are on the right side. They represent Chesed. They represent the Hiskalis of Chayka Toiv Lahetiv, which can only be revealed at this point through the Toiv Hanira Vahanigla, which comes about through the emergence of Bina, but only for the purpose of being Mavatal back to Chachma. Leviya Smola, and the Leviim represent the left side. Korach's problem was that he came to switch the right and the left. He wanted to take the left and put it in the place of the right. He felt that there's a secret here, that Binah is as valuable as Chochma, that the Gvura is as representative of Hashem as the Chesed, that the Tzimtzum is as powerful as the Gilui of Orin Sof, that Chelis is as powerful as the Lavan of the Tzitzis, that the Kalim are as powerful as the Oros, God forbid. He came to understand that secret, but he forgot that the purpose is always to serve at the service of the Yamin. And he tried to switch the place of the left and the right. He wanted to be the most important. To begin kach, and because he forgot the Chochma, is anish. That was his punishment. And it was mida keneged mida. Chochma is chayim, and the opposite of Chochma is heder. It's nothingness. It's the earth swallowing a person up. Chochma is unity. A splitness is the opposite of unity. And therefore, because he was peigim in Chochma, and he didn't bring Binah back up to Chochma, he didn't bring the Pratim back up to the Klal, he wasn't mevatel to Moshe Rabbeinu. So as a result of that, he was punished with a split, which is the opposite of Chochma. And not only that, but he was punished in a profound way, and a destructive language is used by him. He's described in pitiful terms, in shameful terms. Rabbi Yehuda says, and Rabbi Yehuda's Malchus. Rabbi Yehuda Malchus is looking at this machlokas between Chochma and Binah. And Malchus is fundamentally aware that its true source of Korach comes from Chochma, because it's Abiyas Abrata. It also understands that Bechitzonius, its strength comes from Binah, which is why Binah and Malchus appear to be singularly connected. But obviously, Malchus always is muvutal itself, betachlis abitul, in only a way that Kabbalah Malchus Shemayim can bring about, which is the power of mitzvos maisios, which is the power of being muvutal to the tzaddik. And so Rabbi Yehuda, the light of Malchus, is looking at this, and he understands the true secret. He understands the importance of Binah, the importance of the smol, the revealed relationship between the Binah and Malchus. But also, Malchus always understands the innermost relationship between the innermost point of Malchus and Chochma, which is Abiyas Abrata. So Rabbi Yehuda comes along looking at this machlokas, where Rabbi Yitzchak comes to teach us the secret that no, Binah always has to be mevatel itself to Chochma. And the Zohar HaKadosh is telling us that this expresses itself with Aaron and the Leviim, with the Or and the Kli. And Rabbi Yehuda comes along and says, Smoila is called Tadr b'Yamina. Korach ba'al le'achalfe tekuna de la'ela v'tata. Begin kach is oven me'ela v'tata. Malchus is saying, whoa, I want to make sure that one thing remains fundamentally clear here. The right and the left are perpetually contained within each other. The left has to always be contained within the Yamin. And the Yamin without a left, Chochma without Binah, is also a problem. It's also a major problem. That's Hitzitz B'Shchina. That's the problem of Hevel. The problem of Cain is that he only wanted the Binah. The problem of Hevel is that he only wanted the Chochma. And this is the reorientation of that machlokas between Moshe and Cain. It's the same process taking place again. And so Rabbi Yehuda Malchus wants to say, don't think, just because we're ensuring that Binah never thinks that it's more important in the ultimate Tachlis than Chochma, because the Tachlis is the Gilui of Ayin, which is fundamentally clear to everybody, because Malchus knows that better than anybody. But Malchus is once again saying that the ultimate goal is to realize that Binah works at the service of Chochma, and that there's always an inclusion of Binah and the smol within Chochma to reveal how the smol is also equal in its revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu as Chochma is. But he's saying, but over here, the problem was Korach came to switch them. Malchus is coming to ensure that we fundamentally are aware of this. And it's for this reason that he was lost, but not because Binah serves a fundamental role. Binah serves a fundamental role, obviously. And that's not where the problem is. The problem is the understanding and forgetting that the entire purpose of any utilization of Ani is only in order to reveal Ayin. Only in order to reveal the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to bestow goodness upon reality. And this is the secret of Vayikach Korach, and Korach took. My Vayikach, what did he take? Nasiv Ita Bisha, he took bad advice. He took Ita Bisha, he took Binah without Chochma. Legarme, it was focused on himself, on Ani. Hold the Rad of Basar, the love delay, Ihu Arik Mikaime. And that's a place of Kayin, and that's a place of Kina, and that's a place where a person begins to look at the world through eyes of scarcity. If it's only Binah alone, then I have to focus on the limited experience that I have here, never thinking that there's going to be anything better, and then I'm stuck in all of the stuckness that I remain in. And anybody who tries to take something that doesn't belong to a person, which is emergent from Kina, which is emergent from only looking at Binah, not Chochma, so they're going to lose themselves. Alamad de Ispeis of it. Not only that, but they'll lose everything. They'll lose what's rightfully theirs as well. Because once Binah went to the place of Chochma, it loses its koyach of Binah as well, and Binah gets transformed into something destructive, God forbid, which is the period alone and not the yichud. So not only did Korach try and take the place of Chochma, but he lost the actual koyach of Binah as well, which is where his punishment comes from. Korach radif basar delav delay. Korach chased after Chochma, which was the place of Chochma, which was not his. Tachlis of Binah is to be ma'orer, the ikr makom of Chochma. They are makom merachot. Avid va'achre lo yivacha. He lost his, and he didn't gain anything. He lost Binah. It's going to be returned to him in the future, and tzaddik tamar yifrach, fine, but that's the light of Mashiach. This is also the ikr nekuda between Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David. Korach azu b'machlokes. Korach chose machlokes. Korach chose Binah alone. Korach chose separation without the source of separation being the fundamental place of unity and the entire purpose of separation to reveal more and more unity. And he focused primarily on the potency and the power of the disunity at the heart of unity instead of perpetually pushing more and more unity. What was the machlokas? A machlokas is a plugsa, it's a splitting. Plugsa de le'ela v'tata was a separation of above, which is Chochma, and below, which is Binah. A separation. And someone who comes to separate the unification of the world, the tikkun ha'olam is the tikkun of the shvira. Shvira is the yerida from Chochma into Binah, and the forgetting that the purpose of Binah is to be chayzer back into Chochma. As Leshem describes, it's perpetually taking place, the re-emergence back into Chochma. And the secret of the Karnei Chagavim. But over here, Korach wanted to separate Binah. And so we see the Zohar Kadosh is saying that once we connect Chochma back to Binah and Binah back to Chochma, so then we fix the world. But anyone who wants to separate that, they're lost from the world. Machlokes plugsa de shalom. Machlokes can have a plugsa de shalom. It separates peace. Uman de palig al shalom, he argued with peace. He came to argue with the unity between Chochma and Binah. The secret of Sar Shalom, the Dasa Shalom, the Dasa the Rashash, which is the yichud of Chochma and Binah b'Shayrasham, with the fundamental understanding of Kedushasi l'malot Kedushasechem, and the secret of Erchei Akunuyim Bilvad, and that everything is mechusar klape, that which is above it, and in spite of the fact that Binah is Iker, and a person can come to feel that they're of equal footing, God forbid, the entire purpose of that is to come to realize that I perpetually don't know, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always higher than me, and that the Tachlis is always the Ayin and not the Ani, God forbid. So he came in a machlokas against this das of shalom, of the unity of Chochma and Binah, of the unity of the Kohen and the Levi, of the unity of the Yichud b'Metzias and the Yichud b'Shlita. Uman de palig al shalom, and someone who comes to fight against shalom, the light of Keser, the light of the unity between Chochma and Binah, which is the role that Binah perpetually plays in the process of perpetually illuminating more and more of the light of Chochma. Palag al Shama Kadisha, he argued on the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Chochma and Binah. The name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Yud K and the Vav K. But a certain erech, the Yud K is the Anastaros Lashem Elokeichem, the Haniglos, the Vav K is the Niglos Lanu Levanenu. So that the Vav K, Zer Anpin and Malchus come from Binah. So Binah is the source of revelation. So it's a separation between concealment and revelation, between the Shorish of the Moichin of Chochma and the Gilui of the Moichin, which is Binah. Why? Why is the separation? Why is arguing on peace and the unity of Chochma and Binah also arguing on the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Begin the Shama the Kadisha, the Shalom Ikra. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name is Shalom. Sar Shalom. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Magal himself through Shalom, which is the end of what? Of Torah Sheba'al Peh. Loi matzah kli machzik bracha ela hashalom. Because the tachlis of Torah Sheba'al Peh, the tachlis of Torah Sheba'al Peh is to come back to the sharish of Shalom, which is the understanding that the tachlis is Chochma. The tachlis is Torah's Moshe. That's what Rabbi Akiva revealed to Moshe when he says Halacha l'Moshe miSinai. All of these pratim, Moshe Rabbeinu, all of this Binah is rooted in your Chochma, which is the secret of the unity between the Zohar HaKadosh and the Torah HaKadosh. Ta'chazi, come and see. Leis alma koyim ella ala shalom. The existence of reality is only built upon the shalom, the das of shalom, the unity between Chochma and Binah, the revelation that Binah is always serving to perpetually allow more and more Chochma to meet Eskala, and the secret of Reshad Lo Esyada. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, the world couldn't exist. There was bilbul, there was tahu vavahu, because there was a yerida from Chochma into Binah, and there was a separation between the Beis and the Aleph, until HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought Shalom down, which is the unification of the Beis and the Aleph, the innermost point of the Os Beis, the unification of above and below, of Chochma and Binah. Umayhu, and what's that unity? That's Shabbos. Shabbos is the Giloi of the transition from Binah back into Chochma, the Moichin of Shabbos are the process from Bina back into the Moichin of Chochma, to reveal that ultimately they're both unified, and that the tachlis of the week is to illuminate the light of Shabbos, as Rabbi Nachman says, that it's the purpose of the unity, the Achdus HaPashat HaYotzeh MeHagvanim HaMishtanim, the Chochma that's Niskala specifically through the descent down into Bina and the resurgence back upwards to reveal Chochma with more further strength. The Ihu Shalma, Shabbos is peace, the Alma V'tata, of above and below, of Chochma and Bina, of Menucha v'Simcha, and Oineg and Simcha, Ukadenes Kayim Alma. And then the world will find establishment. Then there'll be a tikkun of the Shvira. Umad Palig Aleha, but someone who comes to fight against this is Avin Me'alma, is going to lose themselves. The Zohar Kadosh then goes in later on. The Zohar continues in an amazing way, and it talks about Abed Alevihu, the secret that Bina is such a powerful thing. Once we recognize that Korach has to always be mavutal to Moshe, we want to ensure that we're never forgetting about the true power of Bina itself, and that yes, there's a koyach to the Gevuros to be Megala, the Noyam Ha'elyon, and the Simcha, and the Tzchak L'Yom Acharon, and the Vanahapechu, and the lights of Purim, which is where all beginnings begin from, in the light of all of those things, but that is always at the service of Reishad Loas Yada. That koyach to be yored down for Bina to have this potency and the motivation of the gevuros and the hamtakas adinim b'sharashim and all of the pleasure that comes about specifically from that tzike keder of Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Olam Va'ed, there is a certain way that experience of Bina does bring a person to a higher place than Chochma is capable of bringing a person. And those neshamos that are shaykh to that place, neshamos of Olam Hatohu, neshamos of Kayin, as the Arizal describes, have the capacity of going to a higher place. That's the neshama of Rabbi Akiva, but it's always at the bittul of Chachma. It's always, always, always at the bittul of Chachma. So after the Zohar Kadosh reveals that the tachlis of Bina is always, always, always to be Megalazayin on the Oimek HaChachma, which is the Pnimius of Radla, which is the Pnimius of Keser, to be Megalazayin on how the Ayin and nothingness is perpetually ascendant from Ani and ego, but that validates every aspect of the ego experience, because we're perpetually coming to realize that Kedushasei L'mala Mekdushasechem and Tachlis Yediyah Shalei Neda. So the Zohar Kadosh, after warning us and properly putting us in the right framework and understanding the problem of Korach and the secret of peace, which is the unity of Chochma and Bina, where Bina is Megala more and more of Chochma, but it's never for the sake of Bina alone, and that the small is being Megala the Yamin more and more to the secret of the Kav HaEmsayi, but it's never more important than the Yamin. Then the Zohar Kadosh feels comfortable reminding us, Rashbi tells us, and it's true, that Bina has a higher power, and that the Pnimius of Bina is the Pnimius of Atik, because it can bring a person to the secret of Pnimius Chachma, Pnimius to Atik. And then in an incredible way, the Zohar Kadosh ends again with this very, very same principle, that the principle of Chachma and Bina is the Chama and the Lavana, the sun and the moon. The Chama, the sun, is the Breirus of Chachma, Bittul b'Metzius. The moon is concealment. The moon is Bina. The moon is that which appears to be concealed. It's chisaron. And we're told that in the future, the moon is going to be as brilliant as the sun. That the moon is going to be as brilliant as the sun, meaning to say that Bina will be revealed to be as powerful as Chochma. Malchus will be revealed to be as powerful, if not more so, than Zer Anpin Kavyachol. But ultimately, we come to realize at the same time, as the Rebbe Rashab makes fundamentally clear in Taf Reish and Tes, that in spite of the fact that the moon will be illuminated as the brilliance of the sun, and that the Bina will be ascendant to Chachma, and the Ani will be Nechla within the Ayin, nevertheless, the sun as it exists now is going to be sevenfold the power, meaning the Shemesh will always be above the Levana, even though the Levana has the capacity to equate itself with the Chachma. Why? Because the Levana always understands that the Eitzah HaYu'utza is what Leich U'ma'ayti Etzatzmech. The tachlis of Bina is go and minimize yourself, not because you're less important than Chachma, not because I'm less present in you than I am in Chachma, but because that's the tachlis of Bina, is to be megalazayin on the ayin ha'amiti, on the fact that kedushasi l'malam kedushasechem. And that's why the Zohar HaKadosh perhaps ends with this element. The Zohar HaKadosh in Parshas Korach says as follows: Su v'Abed Alevihu. Furthermore, this secret of that the Pnimius of Bina is the Pnimius of Atik, when a person can think again that Bina is fundamentally as important as Chochma is, in spite of the fact that its purpose is to reveal more in Chochma. So we're still worried about revealing Begiloi, the power of Bina, which is Abed Alevihu, which is the Giloi of Pnimius Bina, Pnimius Atik, as the Mittler Rebbe describes in Parshas Lech Lecha and Chayesara. This is what it means when we say Hashem, Chochma. is Elohim, is Binah, is Chochma and Binah are unified together. Hu ishlim shlemusa lemevek kulachad. This is the fulfillment of wholeness where each of them are unified together. Chochma and Binah, light and darkness are unified together. Pshita lekabla leknesses Yisrael, and now it's prepared to be revealed to Knesset Yisrael, like we saw before, after Rav Yitzchak, which is the tikkun to Korach, the recognition of the role that Bina properly plays. Rabbi Yehuda, which is Malchus, understands that I'm makabel from both of them, and the unity of Chachma and Bina of Abba Ve'ima is always going to be something that is revealed within Malchus. Just the chitzonius of Malchus is metukan ayidei Bina, and the pnimius of Malchus is metukan ayidei Chachma. As the pasuk says, "Smoila tachas l'roishi." So I need the small, I need Bina. Begin lachabra zivuga in order to awaken the flames of love towards the zivug, towards the connectivity, the emergence of potential and motivation from within. Kechada, to reveal the unification, man isay rechimusa have omerhu. Two, furthermore, hukada amart, that's what it means. Hashem hu Elokim. Hashem, Chochma, and Bina are unified. Hu asanu v'lo anachnu. But in the end of the day, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made us, and we have not made ourselves. We are not self-begotten. Bina is never fundamentally equal in its footing to Chochma, because it's ultimately HaKadosh Baruch Hu who is going to reveal the ascendency of Chochma over Bina, of the ayin over the ani, which allows the ani to perpetually motivate more and more of a revelation of an ayin in the secret of the Tosefes Kishut that comes about by the inclusion of separation within unity, to reveal more and more unity. And as a result of this, there's still going to be a separation between Chachma and Bina. Even though they're unified, there's still going to be that gradational shift. Because the purpose and the ascendancy is always by ayin and by Chachma, because Kedushasi l'malam Kedushasechem. Hu la'ela, hu iskalia, hu sasim, hu eloikim. One is associated with Havaya and Hiskalus, which is Chachma, and one is associated with concealment and Eloikim, which is Bina, meaning to say that Bina always is mevatel itself to Chachma. Rabbi Yitzchak, and then Rabbi Yitzchak comes back and says, yeah, this is the Iker Tikkun. Amar Zamin Kuchabarichu Anhara Sehira Kinuhura Deshimsha. In the future, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to illuminate the light of the moon like the light of the sun. Vinuhura Deshimsha Al Chad Sheva Zimnin. But the light of the sun is always going to be sevenfold times what it is right now. And it's again Rabbi Yitzchak, the tikkun to Korach, because Korach wanted the expression of Yitzchak, but in truth, the secret of Yitzchak is the bittul of Bina into Chachma, and the Ein Aruch, which is always going to be Megala more and more of an Ein Doime, and the Ani, which is always going to be Megala more and more of an ayin, and the difficulty which is going to always be magala more and more of a desire towards a time beyond difficulty, and that the struggle is always going to be motivational to a person to reach a place in their life where they're no longer in a state of struggle. There will always be struggle, but be'erchen, we're trying to refine it, we're trying to make it better each and every time. So Rabbi Yitzchak is saying that you're right, that the moon, me, Malchus, Tzimtzum, all of it, I understand the tikkun of Korach, I understand the secret that I am equally important, that I'm going to be like the sun. But nevertheless, I also understand that the sun is going to shine sevenfold. Why? Because once I understand my true power, once Bina understands its true power, it can allow Chochma to be nisgala more and more and more and more and more. That the light of the moon will be the light of the sun, but the light of the sun will be Shivatayim. It will be sevenfold the strength of what it is now. And that's when they're going to see that there's no longer going to be a separation between the sun and the moon. And the sun and the moon are no longer going to be used for the way that we use them, but it's going to be the unification of Chachma and Bina, of Zuna Amitim, which is going to be the Giloy of the Achdus. But it's always with the recognition that the separation is there to be Megala more and more and more bittul. That in the end of the day, the only thing that we can do is be mevatel ourselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The only way that we can experience the true or of HaKadosh Baruch Hu being niskala is to get out of the way and not to erase Bina, not to get rid of the ani, but rather to come to terms that the fact that all of my ego strengths and all of the things that Hashem has given me, each and every person is a shliach to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in one way or another. The shlichus is to descend from the bittul of Chochma down into the yesh of Bina. But we have to remember that we're a shliach, and shliach shel adam kamoso, meaning to say that the thing that enables us to get through the light of Bina is the or of Chachma that remains hidden within our minds at each and every moment, in the secret of the Rosham, in the secret of the Chachma Tichias Bala, and the Koyach Ma, Vanachnu Ma. And only through that can we come to the place of perpetual emuna, of kedushasi l'malim kedushaseichem, of more and more bittul and more tefillah and more of the avodah of hishtoikakus of bina to be megala zayin and the true light of Chochma, which is the panemius of Chochma, the panemius of Atik, which is the secret of the nishmas Mashiach, which is the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is minamayim mishisihu, and the secret of kamayim liyam yam lechasim, and that the hafach lami abasha, and that the waters of Chochma are going to be niskala in the lens of bina, and we're going to be able to understand perpetually that the purpose of all things is the bittul to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but nevertheless we'll be able to own our strength and vitality and move through our own concealment into the perpetual revelation of more and more and more Hiskalis of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Be'ezras Hashem.